Mythic Quest is one of Apple TV's series that started in 2020 and just finished its third season run in early January. At first glance, Mythic Quest appears to have all the workings from a typical show that you've come to expect from a major streaming platform original. And for the most part, it is. While not exactly the most revolutionary or brilliant show to ever be produced, Mythic Quest takes steps to set itself apart from regular sitcoms with a premise focused on the overlooked world of game production. And as with many Apple TV shows, an extremely high-level production value. And as the series continues to find itself, there are signs of visual storytelling that are truly compelling. The show is centered around a video game development company that produces the most popular online game in the world, Mythic Quest. Most of the episodes center around the eccentric personalities that ensure the game stays online and remains profitable. Most. But I'll come back to that. The show is just enough workplace sitcom to be approachable, but still in a unique enough field that knowledge of the gaming world will be rewarded with extra nuggets to appreciate or laugh about. There are numerous characters that work within the company that make the show memorable, but for our purposes, we will focus on just three. The visionary lead, Ian, the genius programmer, Poppy, and the aging story writer, CW. These characters, among several other incredibly talented cast members, rounds out a truly unique ensemble. With either current or more classic TV shows, character introductions are usually treated as a pesky setup step that runs through as quickly as possible to set the stage for an inciting incident that will either develop some kind of drama or hilarious situation. Some shows only give a few moments to introduce someone, and then continue forward with the plot. And for that reason, writers will often use highly stereotyped character models that most viewers can identify immediately without much thought. In that decision, you end up with highly predictable caricatures of people that are used for fast story. Don't get me wrong, Mythic Quest also follows this traditional setup structure in the first episode, and then later episodes continue on the task of setting up more about the characters. It's unavoidable. But where Mythic Quest stands out is with their seasonal standalone episodes. Season 1, Episode 5, Dark Quiet Death, Season 2, Episode 6, Backstory, and Season 3, Episode 7, Sarian. These episodes are unexpected jumps back in time to explore deeper stories that expand our understanding of characters and events in the show. These episodes are a breakaway from the traditional TV show structure of flashbacks that we've all become accustomed to. Rather than brief moments that show, at most, a scene from a character's past, these episodes are full stories on their own, which is already incredibly unique for a show to do for its first season. But it's when these episode stories are brought into the context of the rest of the series that they're able to do something truly incredible. These episodes completely change and reimagine how a show can develop a character or a theme over time. The dedication to work in one of these background episodes every season speaks to how the show cares about the use of flashbacks not just as a throwaway gag, like most shows, but as a necessary tool in developing the show's story structure. The character development that happens in these episodes recontextualizes actions and information from previous episodes, with later episodes continuing to build upon themes set up in these flashbacks. Now we're going to be getting into some spoiler territory, so if you haven't watched Mythic Quest yet, I urge you to pause now and go watch this innovative show. The first of these flashbacks tells the story of the in-universe game Dark Quiet Death and its humble beginnings from a husband-wife team of Doc and Beans that created the game. It became insanely popular and influenced much of the current gaming world in the show. In fact, if you watch back on previous episodes, you can see the game logo featured on shirts of the employees at Mythic Quest. After Doc begins to concede to corporate pressure on creative aspects of the game, a rift is created that grows until the couple splits and Beans leaves the game and their marriage entirely. Later on, Doc is let go when he finally tries to stand his ground on a childish side character being added to the game, after too much had already been changed to the original vision of the game. Their story serves as a parable for the head creative team at Mythic Quest, and their combative nature with each other. This is not only seen in this season of the show, but in much of Poppy and Ian's relationship. It's later revealed that they even work in the same building as Dark Quiet Death, almost living in the shadow of their creative failure. But rather than continuing down the path that is shown through Doc and Beans, Ian learns the lesson from Doc's mistake by choosing to make Poppy his co-creative director and deciding to stop ignoring Poppy's input on the overall direction of the game. This decision is a big character shift for Ian, as earlier in this series you can see how he acts almost manipulative of Poppy, but then tries to make a real effort to change his ways. While for the sake of television storylines, Ian later doubles back on some of his demeaning ways on dealing with Poppy. But from this point forward, he makes it clear in every encounter that Poppy truly is a genius programmer and is capable of doing things no one else in game production can do. But he also doesn't shy away from the fact that without Ian's vision for the games and his inexplicable ability to predict what gamers will love about their games, all her programming would be for nothing. Their believing in one another is what makes them such a powerful team, and they're truly at their best when working together. My admitted favorite episode of Mythic Quest, Backstory, gives, the backstory of one of the least relatable characters, CW, or he's known in the episode, Carl. The episode shows how he starts out as an ambitious science fiction writer moving to LA in the 70s with big dreams. We watch as he tries his best to get his writing noticed, but ultimately his work doesn't hold up to his peers and he begins to realize he may not be the writer he once thought he was. Throwing himself into his work, he misses the chance at possible romance and loses his only friend group in LA. This fall comes to a head when he sheepishly offers up his book for critique by his idol, Isaac Asimov. Feeling that his hero will see his genius, he is devastated when the edited copy is returned to him with red lines through literally every word he wrote, and a new story written by Isaac Asimov scribbled above his lines. Finally proving to himself that he truly isn't the talented writer he once thought he was. While momentarily deterred, we see Carl go on to publish this total rewrite, through which he wins his coveted Nebula Award with this dubious action. While much of his history as a writer only shows more character flaws in Carl and casts doubt upon his writing ability, what this episode does show is Carl predicting the entire future of story-driven video games and the need for writers to adapt to the new gaming technology to create the storylines. It's an idea that's so ahead of its time that he's merely laughed at and his ideas are cast aside. The episode shows the deeper side to CW and who he is, and by the end, he's the same character he's always been, but how you view him changes, an idea that is paralleled by a side story later in the season with the game tester Rachel. As she reads a book written by one of CW's old friends, she has the same tonal shift as she begins to care for the misogynist lead of the book. You as the viewer have gone through the same journey as Rachel. You start out the episode thinking CW is just a typical misogynist boomer that is stuck in the 70s. But after seeing more of his past, you learn that the 70s were most likely the worst years of CW's life. They are the years that he lost what he considers the love of his life, shamefully stole his most successful book, achieved his only accolade for writing with a stolen work, and disappeared down a hole of addiction that was so intense he routinely mentions not remembering large swaths of his life. You feel sorry for this old man. Yes, he has his faults, but this is a more complete picture of who he is, and it's dreary to say the least. When pulled into the context of the rest of the series, you start to understand how people around CW stand him for so long, by showing a more complete image of who he is, not just his flaws that are used for laughs in the show. It makes you as the viewer begin to question how you perceive the other characters in the show. Sarian, the newest of the Flashback episodes, gives a heartbreaking look into the childhoods of Ian and Poppy and shows us how they came to work together in making games. We see through a split timeline how both Ian and Poppy struggled with their own issues growing up. Ian struggling with his schoolwork and living with his mother and grandfather without his dad in the picture, and Poppy with maintaining friendships with kids her age, as well as committing to her extra studies imposed by her mother, like piano and learning Tagalog. But they both have a supportive parent. Ian with his mother, who consistently tells him he is smart in his own creative way, and supports him going against what his teacher and principal tell him. And Poppy has her father, who is pretty much her best friend, and has a playful demeanor as he plays video games with her, seemingly her only interest in the world. You can make a clear correlation between their personalities growing up and how their strengths come through in their chosen vocations. The turn for both of them comes as we and Ian come to the realization that his mother isn't as well as she tries to put on, and suffers from bipolar disorder. She is unable to fully care for Ian and give him the structure that he needs. This causes Ian's entire world to come crashing down as he is forced to leave the creative support of his mother's and grandfather's house and move in with his dad, who he can't stand. At the same time, we learn that Poppy not only learned Tagalog, but hid it from her mother, which leads her to overhear her father tell her mother that he goes out of his way to be Poppy's friend, because if he didn't, she wouldn't have any friends at all. Hearing her parents discuss her inability to form friendships and have meaningful relationships rocks her confidence and self-esteem. But rather than reveal her real emotions, she pushes herself to perform well at the piano recital, if only to appease her parents and to win a bet with her dad to get something she wants. With the win, she asks for a new bike, which makes her parents think she is developing friendships outside the house. But in reality, she escapes away to the library to use the internet to research game walkthroughs. While researching Final Fantasy walkthroughs, she sees an ad for a site where you can create your own video games and play other user-created games. This is how she comes to play Ian's first game, Sarian, which is named after a planet that Ian and his mother created together. The episode then takes a large leap to when Ian and Poppy first meet in person, and right from the get-go, Poppy is awkward, but not afraid to call out Ian's poor coding skills. Ian calls out Poppy's poor social skills, but then begins to picture the idea that would become Mythic Quest. It's the same banter we see them keep up to the current day. But most importantly, the episode sets the foundation for the final arc of this season-long storyline about Ian and Poppy's new company. Up to this point, we've seen them both struggle to make their next hit game because they've been unable to combine both of their best skills because they've forgotten what made them so great to begin with. We see them redeem themselves and change the way video games are thought of by going back to where they first met, almost poetically, in user-created games. Each one of these episodes works to further develop an overarching theme for the season, like with Dark Quiet Death, enhance our view of a complex character, like with backstory, or to do both simultaneously, like with Sarian. The use of dedicated flashback episodes is a genius way to enhance already established characters, and while it's a commonly used narrative device, this is the first time the use of flashback is so imperative to the story development in a TV show. Great care is taken with which characters are chosen to shed more light on. That, along with the incredible production quality the show boasts, these are some of the highest rated episodes in the show's entire run. I find myself re-watching these episodes again and again, and when the newest season premiered, I was excited most of all for the flashback episode, and to see who it would focus on. This is good writing. I would love to see more shows take these kinds of narrative risks and inventive ways to show who their characters are at their core. What shows do you know that are trying different and creative ways to establish better character development? Let me know in the comments, and your pick may get its very own episode. Thank you for watching the video. Please like and subscribe to grow the channel. This is Cursory Analysis. Thank you.